Hey everybody, welcome back and thanks for joining. So sure, I immigrated here almost 3 years ago, and immigrating to New Zealand has been one of the most difficult things I've had to do in my life. And it's not just the difficulty of physically moving across to New Zealand and trying to make it home, but it's also making sure you maintain your mental well-being, and there's so much to it. So that's why I kicked off Soft Landing. So many of you that follow me and watch regularly will know what Soft Landing is all about. But really what it is I'm trying to share my journey, my experiences, to try to help as many of you out there that are going to be moving to New Zealand learn from us and do better than us and have a softer landing than us. So I share a lot of practical things and guides to try and help, like basics like how to pump your tires and fill your car with fuel, to how to enroll your kids in school, how the medical system works, how to find that first rental and secure that rental, from even tips and tricks on how to find that job and integrate with the culture here at work. There's so many practical things that I'm trying to share. Over and above the practical, there was also the mental well-being and trying to really safeguard your mental well-being by showing grit and, dealing with what is real, which is immigration grief. So I've really started sharing a lot of that. But one of the big things that we cannot overlook is your finances. As much as it's a journey to make New Zealand your home from beginning to end, and learning all these practical things and making sure that safeguarding your mental well-being to be able to push through and actually make this home, you've got to stay on top of your finances. Your finances is as much of a financial journey from beginning to end, from having enough money to even immigrate and get here, having enough money to start not only, surviving here, but thriving here, having enough money to make sure that you're starting to invest for your retirement, having enough money to be able to buy a home. There's that whole financial journey that you've got to work through. So with that in mind, that's where I partnered up with Evandy Fitchett from Migrant Financial Services. And she's offered to do a 7-part series with me to actually talk us through that whole financial journey from beginning to end. And she's going to be using me as a guinea pig so that she will run through my initial budget when we got here to when we have 2 salaries, for working together with me to finally start working towards investing for our retirement, investing to be able to buy a home, and just all the challenges that we as immigrants will go through, and a whole lot of tips and tricks along the way. So I'm really excited to go through this. And I know finances and money is not always the fun part, but let's face it, if you're not on top of your finances, everything else will fall apart. So we really got to give this the effort and the focus it deserves. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Evandy, and we're going to kick off the first part of the 7-part series. Hey, Evandy, I'm going to hand over to you, and let's get started.
Thanks, Brett. So we are going through the circle of life, that I call it.
Yeah.
It's just the end-to-end service with Migrant Financial Services. So
Awesome.
I'll bring it up just to give people an idea of the series that we're going to be going through
Awesome.
from start to finish.
Awesome. Thanks, Evandy. So while you're busy bringing that up, so just for the audience so that they know what we're doing. So like I explained, I'm the guinea pig. So this is like our initial meeting. And Evandy is going to start explaining how she's taking me along this journey, or us along that journey. Thanks, Evandy.
Can you see this okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. All right. So usually the very first step is income and budget.
Yeah.
And that really does apply whether you're onshore and offshore. But a lot of the people that are still offshore thinking about moving to New Zealand, the first question is always about the cost of living here.
Yeah.
So really integral part to our start. So we start with that. And people onshore, it's something we unpack as well, because I need those numbers for insurances and mortgages as well.
Perfect.
Then our next step, once people are then onshore, is to look at their insurances, get the family set up and have some peace of mind. Once the insurances are set up, we always forward a copy of the life cover, for instance, to the solicitors to attach for your last will and testament. A really important step to do onshore is to get your will sorted out. Next stage is the investments. I chat through the investments while people are offshore as well to get an idea of the surplus money that they're bringing over.
Yeah.
And then once they're onshore and ready to kind of look at that next step and keeping their money safe for post-residency, that's where that investment stage comes in.
Okay.
And then once you have residency, we start looking at the benefits that you are eligible for once you are a resident visa holder, which is then KiwiSaver, buying your first home in New Zealand, which I think is a goal for most. Takes a bit longer to get. But we do get there. So getting your mortgage ready, helping you with that process, including doing the application for you. And then lastly is your retirement planning, which I think is a concern for any immigrant because we're starting here later on in life and what retirement looks like.
Awesome.
For us.
Awesome. I love this, Ivani. And it's so awesome that we've got a nice wheel that's telling you pre your residency and then post your residency what we've got to do and get in place. And it's such I like chronological order and everything going as a process. Maybe it's just me and the way my mind ticks. So that's why I'm loving this, which will really be cool. So first one, obviously income and budgeting. So
budget. Okay, so let's jump in. So we're just gonna using you as a dummy and using test numbers as well.
I got my coffee and it's all good. I'm all ready for it.
Sorry, I just need to share my screen. Where are you? That's
cool.
Okay, so we do start right in the beginning, have a general chat. I do get an idea of kiddies' ages, that type of stuff, which is also things that we capture. So even though we're starting in the income and expenses, just a quick note, the assets, which would be your surplus money that's coming over, whether it be pension, provident, sale of home, I do capture that in here and we tackle it in the investment portion. Okay.
So, just to, I'm going to keep this interactive and just keeping it real. Okay. So that's really what I'm going to be doing here, Vandy. So when you're talking about the assets and investments for the scenario that we're going to be playing through me as the guinea pig here. So I'm going to really lean on what really was true to me when I arrived here 3 years ago. So you can work on the case that it's myself and Amy, my wife, that are coming across. Obviously, I was the first income earner when we first arrived. Amy didn't have a job, so we'll work through those finances. We did have 2 kiddies when we first came across. So we had my son and my daughter. My son at that stage was 10 and my daughter was 3. So that's the scenario going to play out, which is true to my real life. But we'll go through the figures. So you ask me all the questions just like you would a client, and let's populate and go for it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we've worked on a job offer for you with your first income being 124,000.
124 a year. And look, I think what's tough for a lot of people is I know when I first got that offer, a lot of stuff was going through my mind like, shit, is this enough? Would I actually, I hope this is good. Because you've already, the horse is bolted. You've accepted now, you resigned from your current company in your current country. And you think, we're getting on that plane and we're starting to go and geez, I hope this is good enough. And I hope we're going to be able to survive, especially because it's stressful having the 2 kids and my wife along. You think there's a lot of pressure on you and on your shoulders. So this is a biggie for me in trying to understand this up front, and it relieves a lot of stress having that chat with you. And I know we did. So I did work with you 3 years ago, and I remember that first meeting and interview with you. Obviously, Amy was along in that first meeting as well. But this is exactly what you did for us when we were still back home in South Africa, which gave me that peace of mind, like, okay, I think we can do this. We're going to be okay, love. We can make this work. So I think we can do this because it's scary as hell, man. It's a tough one. So thank you for this, Evandy. It's awesome that we're sharing this with others. Okay, cool. So I've got my first offer. I got 124.
Got your first offer. So I'm just going to bring up this calculator. Can you see the PAYE? Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. So this is an amazing calculator. Most lenders use it as well. Really, really accurate. So this is to calculate your tax.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave KiwiSaver off because you're only eligible once you're a resident. Okay. So there you can see
that's an important one. You just noted it. I know you got through it quite quick there. Is one, this is a tool that I've used before, and even on past tutorials that I've done, I've shown and shared this link, and I'll share it again in the description because it's a freaking awesome tool, okay?
Very
and
nice.
It's not only a tool that helps you in the very beginning like you're doing with me now, but I promise you, if you ever go through any job offers, anything like that, this is an awesome tool to work out what you're going to be netting, okay? once you even are eligible for KiwiSaver and all the rest of it, because it really gives you an accurate outcome of what you're going to be getting if you get paid fortnightly or monthly or whatever else. So you can really budget quite nicely. So fantastic tool, Evandy. But I'll definitely share that link as well. Yep.
All right. So we can see your monthly net is 77594. So I'll just make a note of that.
Okay, cool. I'm bringing it up as well, but just another one that you did mention is when you first arrive, I came across on a work visa. So I was not a resident straight away. So that's the scenario we're busy working through now, is where I'm going to be landing on shore. This is my first offer of the 124K a year. And we've just worked out what I'll be netting as you're putting on the screen. But Evandy mentioned it now. I was not able to get KiwiSaver until you're a resident. When you first arrive, because I was on a work visa, you don't qualify for getting KiwiSaver. It's just legally not allowed. You're not allowed to be a resident.
Correct.
Okay,
yes.
So that's why you're keeping it off. Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies that do automatically enroll you. So, I always give clients a heads up if I know they're coming over on a work visa. Please don't sign it. Politely give it back to the HR and tell them you're not yet eligible. We even see it with government departments, which is baffling to me because it's technically a law. So don't do it. But what we do encourage is put 3% savings away. Get used to that 3% coming off your income, although next year it's going up to 3.5% and then 4%. But get used to it. Eventually it is going to come off your income. But okay. All right. Okay. So we've got the 124. I'm just going to work on your income for now because 99.9% of the time it's one person on an income initially.
100%. And this scenario, that's exactly how it was for Amy and I. We all arrived here and we lived off of my salary for the first year. We thought we would only do it for 6 months, but we actually stretched it right the way to 12 months before she actually even started working.
Long time.
And it was actually fantastic for her. And I guess that's what this will show, is whether you can survive on the one salary or not. And I guess that also will push how quickly you have to get that other person, the partner, working to be able to supplement the budget or the household income. But we were lucky to be able to stretch it for a year. But it really helped us be able to settle the kids, settle home, get used to things. So we were privileged and really blessed to be able to do that. But every scenario is different. I get that. But yes, one salary for now.
Yeah, we do find the average for the spouse to start working is about 6 months.
Yeah,
4 to 6 months.
Okay.
So we generally work on that unless the kiddies are very small and financially it's not viable because ECE is going to cost more than what her potential salary
And I'm going to ask you again, for a lot of us out there, you just said ECE, throwing an acronym in us, and we're going, what's ECE?
Early childhood education creche.
100%.
Very expensive. But when we get to that part in the expenses, I'm going to stop there and just break it down a little for people to understand that because it is a monumental cost here for small children. Okay. So food. Couple of tricks and tips, I guess. It depends where you are in New Zealand. Like for instance, if you're in Auckland, we're fortunate to have something like Costco here, that massive American food chain. I've got a family of 5 shopping there for $150 a week. But I think for the average family of 4, you're looking at about $300 to $350 a week. So I'll work on $350.
So look, I think you've made a good point there. Is that one, you taught me something. I didn't even know there was a Costco here, okay? So I told Amy this and she laughed at me and said, you're too snooty. That's why you didn't know, okay? I have done a tutorial or video on where you buy what from. And when I went through the stores, I said, Pack and Save is where you can get quite a
100%.
Good deals and actually save some money. Not knowing that there was Costco as well. But you did note it to me and said, Costco, as much as you can save, because it's incredible. You say a family of 5, what, 150 a week?
150 a week.
That is incredible. It's absolutely incredible to be able to make that sort of saving. But you warned me. You said it's buying in bulk, like real bulk, and you need space. Okay, so now really look at your rentals, look at the space, look at your fridge space, your freezer, all that kind of stuff. And I know it sounds silly, but I'm just telling you, us as a family of 5 now, because I've got my nephew with me, I don't think we have enough freezer space. We have to shop quite regularly just to be able to keep everything. Two growing boys, it can be a tough one. But when you first arrived, that 150 a week, that's incredible with Costco. So it really helps. And I'll probably share the link on screen for my tutorial on that one as well. But yeah, Costco, brilliant. Thanks, Evany.
You should do a trial run through there. And now that your family's grown, and just see how that might work for you now that your family's grown, and the bulk could really help you.
Well, it's incredible how much you can actually save. Like you said, what are you going to put in there as an average? You said 300 and something, right?
350.
And 350 is really realistic. I can tell you that now, and we're in 2025. That is realistic. I know we spend a little bit more, but the reason we spend a little bit more at the moment is because I'm celiac. So being celiac, oh man, it's a pain in the butt. But you got to buy all these gluten-free things, and they cost a fortune. Okay,
they do.
But unfortunately, it's just what we have to do. So Amy won't go buy just separate food for me. She'll cook everybody gluten-free. So pastas, for example, we have to buy the gluten-free pasta, which is more expensive. But then she can make one meal for the whole family. So everybody's situation is a little different. That's with us. But let's, for the sake of this scenario, assume I'm not celiac, so most people can relate, and let's go with that 350.
Okay. And on a general conversation, if you're not in Auckland, for instance, I would also say Pack and Save would probably be your best bets for a bigger family. But all the stores have really good specials. I've got quite a few families that special hop. They compare the stores week to week. So, but that takes a bit of commitment, whether you're keen to do it or not. Okay. All right. Entertainment, I don't usually factor in while there's one income. And honestly, in those first 6 months when you're settling, there's really no time or no budget for something like that. That can come a bit later once there's two incomes as well.
So, Ivania, I'm going to talk through each point that you're going through just to add a little bit from experience. So I think you're 100% right. In that first year of us being here, also because we were living off of one income, you have to be, budget conscious. You really have to watch every penny in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's something you had to do. But where you said we're not budgeting for entertainment, you're right, we didn't. So we didn't get to go spend money on going and paying for stuff to do. But that said, us being up here in Auckland, there's a lot of things to still do with a family that doesn't cost money.
It's free.
Going for beach walks, going for walks in nature, going to the museums. If we just take a proof that we got a house, or we're living in Auckland, so with our address, we didn't have to pay to go to the Auckland Museum, for example. So there are things you can do in Auckland as a family that still don't cost money. So don't think
or maybe
you're stuck in your four walls. You can do stuff, but it just takes a bit of research and a little bit of getting out there and doing something different. That's all.
Absolutely. I mean, Facebook always has things advertised for family-friendly events on weekends and stuff. Otherwise, there are so many beaches around us and parks and things to do. It's only going to cost you the petrol to jump 100%. Into your car and go see something new because you're new to country. A lot of the places you haven't even seen before.
It's like being on holiday, exploring your new country. And maybe I'll add another point there, and I know I'm putting in a little bit of a pitch here, but I've got an app called Match Families that we're going to be launching very shortly. But it is available and everything at the moment. So even if you had to go to the app stores and look up Match Families, people can register. Over and above trying to match families so you can meet other people that are other immigrants and everything in your country, what we're starting to do, or wherever you are in New Zealand, you meet up with those families, we're also going to start adding on things to do in those locations. So families not only meet up, but they can see what's happening in their relevant areas at every point in time, so that they can actually go start finding stuff to do and actually get out there. So we're going to be doing that too, to try and help. So over and above, yes, Facebook groups, you're right. So there's a whole lot of those. We've also going to be having Match Families app available to everybody in New Zealand to try and address that too.
Okay, so I'm going to leave that blank for now. We'll look at that when there's a second income. Right. Alcohol and nicotine. Well, let's just say if you are still smoking before you've immigrated, stop before you come. It is $45 a box. I believe I don't smoke, but there's no budget that can support that.
Look, there's no judgment here or anything like that.
No. It's
100%. So if you couldn't stop or whatever else, well, just know it's seriously going to cost you an arm and a leg. Okay,
it's huge money.
It is a huge amount of money that you'd need to spend on smoking or even vaping. Not that I vape or smoke, so I don't know the costs of all of that. But if you said it's $45 a box, that's a hell of a lot to be spending. Alcohol as well. I know it's not cheap either. It is very expensive. In my scenario, we are lucky. We don't smoke or vape or drink. So it is definitely something we've been able to save on. So just keep that in mind if you are coming across.
A lot of my clients do stop smoking and change to vape before they come, just because it's more cost effective. But it's really just a heads up that, it's $45 a box. It is a massive drain on your income. To put that in perspective, 500 Rand a box? So don't think you'd be paying that back home.
No.
Okay.
Hey, look, I have no idea, but I just know it's,
Or clothing. So look, I think in the first 6 months, not a necessity. Most people are really kitted out with their clothing that they've brought on shore. So we will factor that in on a month-to-month basis once there's 2 incomes. All right, then power.
So I'll add into the personal one just quickly before you jump onto the next one. So what we did back in South Africa is we actually went shopping in South Africa first and got a lot of new clothing before we came across. So we brought that with us. And what we also did is thought ahead a little bit and said, okay, well, we were arriving in January. So we knew it was the end of summer. We were going into winter. So we bought a lot of winter clothing as well to try to see us through. And I'm talking the kids as well. So we tried to do that. And also the personal care with all your creams and your products and all that kind of stuff. We try to bring as much across with us as well. Also bearing in mind, it sounds silly, but when you first arrive here, you get used to certain products, eye creams, face creams, hair stuff, whatever. Now you arrive here, your brands are all different. You sometimes can't get what you use. And then you're like, you don't want to run out and then go, oh crap, now I can't find that particular hair straightening product. You can see I'm married, okay? Because that's what we used to use. And now I can't find it here. So now you have to go try different things and it doesn't work. So not only because of the cost, but just for peace of mind and stress, bring what you can across so that you're ready. You kit it out for the next couple of months until you find your feet and you can afford it. And, get out there and start learning other brands and what's available.
Absolutely.
So that's
Especially
one of the things we
good
do.
quality stuff like Woolies and that, if you can bring what you can, then you're not having to buy for quite some time. Okay. All right. So power. Interesting concept to us to be able to choose between electricity providers. It's a novelty.
More than one provider of
More
power?
than one?
No monopoly? What the hell?
No load shedding.
No load shedding? Geez. Funny story. And I know, just adding into it, Evandy, when we first got here, we were like 2 weeks in and then Cyclone Gabriella hit, okay?
All right.
We went through the cyclone. We did have a power cut in the middle of the cyclone. In the middle of the cyclone, let me reiterate that. The power was off for 20 minutes and then came back on. And they apologized because we lost power for 20 minutes.
Did you get a text message saying apologies? I
All
know
I
it was
thinking
bizarre.
was, geez, you have no idea. Okay. So really awesome.
So, multiple providers to choose from. I think they each have their own benefits in that. I think it's a good idea to check maps because you can see their strength area in those in particular areas. I think the biggest thing to factor in with the electricity is if you have children and small children, and you're going to be using the dryer quite a bit, try and get those packages where you've got free electricity on the weekends or later on in the evenings, just to save, because using the tumble dryer here, especially in winter and in a country that rains so much, it does get used a lot and it does use a lot of power. So there are tips and tricks just to bring those costs down. But I think for a family of 4, you're kind of looking around that $280 a month, more or less. Then all the electricity providers offer add-on Wi-Fi, which is strange. I know it's a really strange concept, but it is cheaper through them than it is a standalone. I do, however, say to clients that might be IT jobs, work from home jobs, that it would maybe be better to do a standalone provider where it would have a better strength and signal. But for argument's sake, we'll just use the electricity guys, which is around $70 a month.
So I think you're right, $70 a month, which is perfect on your electricity, okay? What I I just want to add on there is you did mention it already. There's different offers that come from, and you've got choices. You've got like Mercury, you've got Genesis, you've got Contact. There's so many different other providers out here, but they run different deals over and above what you've said with even giving you free electricity at certain times to run the dryer. And so that people really understand, it rains a lot here. So you end up using your dryer a lot. Otherwise you stink, okay? Your clothes smell damp all the time. There's no sunshine like back home when you put it out and you can leave it for a couple of hours. I promise you, you use the dryer here. Back in South Africa, well, when they could keep the lights on, you were very sparingly using the dryer because it also cost a lot of money, and you could use the sun. It worked and things dried. So it is something you're going to do. But they run deals over and above free time. They also give deals where you can get a TV, you can get other things as well. So that it's a competitive market here, which is actually quite nice. So it really, really works. And you are right, they do bundle in the internet as well. I do work from home. I am in IT as well. So does my wife. She also works from home. So we have separated ours, and we do have it separate between internet and electricity. Also, when you arrive here, there are companies that you can phone them, and they can even get everything connected for you, which is really cool. So there's a company that's called Fast Connect. You can even contact them, and they'll get you all the competitive prices at that point in time, and they'll even help you get connected. And the service is phenomenal. It actually works. Evandy, it's really, not like back home in South Africa where it was like, oh crap, you would worry and whatever else. It actually works really well. So cool. 100%. Yep.
Okay. And then phones, also pretty competitive here. I'm still on the same plan. It was from day dot when I landed here, which is with, now One NZ, which costs $35 a month. It's unlimited, calls to New Zealand numbers, text, and Wi-Fi. So I don't think there's a need for any more than that. And some people obviously get a work phone as well. So I just kind of factor in 2 phones there, which would be $70.
I think you're right with that one. I just want to add on, one of the things we did do is we brought the physical phone with us. So that's $35 or $45 a month. It's just the contract. It doesn't include buying a phone. Just so everybody's very clear on that, you need to have a handset. I did need to upgrade my phone when I got here. What I did is there is sites that you can go to, like Dick Smith, whatever else, where you can actually get refurbished phones from Australia even, and some here in country, and they're cheap. You can get a phone for like $100 and something, which is a decent Samsung whatever phone. It's not the S series or whatever. It's not the Wow series, but it works perfectly fine. So you can buy your phone outright and then just keep on your month to month. So I even did that when I first got here. So it's something you can keep in mind.
Okay. All right. So that brings us to $420, but I'm going to round this up to $450 just to give a little bit of leeway for those electricity costs. Okay. Transport, hugely dependent on where you're living versus where you're working. So if you're in Auckland, for example, public transport is fantastic. You can get those monthly passes. I think it's $200 a month now for unlimited buses and trains. And I think if you're working in the city, it really does help to commute into CBD via public transport. We've noticed average petrol cost, if it's just work and back, shop and back, school and back, is around $300 per person, plus then $200 for public transport. All right.
I can just add on to that while you're busy filling it in. So we did use public transport, and it's a new concept, using public transport for some of us. Okay, it does depend which country you come from, but coming from South Africa, public transport was it was dodgy. Okay, it just really didn't work very well. And it wasn't for everybody. But here, public transport does work, and I'm on North Shore in Auckland, so I'm about an hour and 10 minutes away from CBD, but I can catch a bus into CBD. And while I'm actually catching that bus all the way into CBD, I can sit and listen to my audiobooks, whatever else. Public transport, it's safe, it works, whatever else. So it's really awesome. Public transport actually does work, which is really cool. And it also then, what we did is, because we bought a car outright when we got here and we weren't paying off a car, it meant because Amy was back at home, when I was going into work, she had the car so that she could drive around with the kids and go and do and whatever else. It also meant once the kids got into school, she could run them back and forth and whatever else. So that's why I used the public transport as well, which just made sense. Yep.
Absolutely. All right. Then household maintenance and gardening. Sorry to say, you are the help.
I am Elliot. I know. Okay, so I am the gardener,
You are the
but
gardener.
I'm not only the gardener. I am also the maid that cleans and cooks and all the
Yeah,
rest of it. Obviously, with
that's
my
it.
wife's help, so I'm lucky.
Yeah.
It's a partnership. She doesn't mow the lawn though. I have to do the lawn, and that was even funny for me, Vandy. I can tell you because we're so
Yeah.
spoiled as South Africans having a gardener back home. First time having to mow the lawn, it was a bit daunting. I had to like kind of look out the window, look at my neighbor, and almost stalk him and see how the hell do they do this? You know, how does this
What
work?
is he doing?
This is not something I do every single day. And yeah, starting to get my head around it. I've even upgraded. I've got all snazzy now. I don't have a petrol lawnmower and weed eater. I've gone all electric and whatever else. But it's taken me a while because in the beginning I wasn't like that. I wasn't sure what I was doing. You buy what you can. Hey, but maybe on a real note, what you do need to think about is just the cost. Because if you get into that rental, a lot of the time it's your responsibility to look after those lawns and everything like that, which means you need a lawnmower or you need a weed eater or you need something like basics wise. So you've got to think of that when you're budgeting to also come and buy that stuff to be able to do it. There are some rentals where they include it, but it's not the norm. The norm is you get out there
But you can buy secondhand.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
I bought
100%.
my first lawnmower for $50.
Yeah.
So,
Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, looking in your areas.
Trade Me.
Yeah. Yep, you can definitely get secondhand. Look in your area. People are always selling stuff and whatever else. But I'm just saying, keep it in mind. It is something that you, over and above us laughing that we have to do it, it also means, you've got to get the stuff to do it.
Yeah. I've got a robotic vacuum cleaner and mop. Her name is Gorko, and she is a game changer in my house. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, we haven't got there yet. You've obviously been here longer than us. No. So we still got to get to the robot vacuum cleaner. We haven't got there. So it's still me and Amy.
All right. So I'm going to leave this off for now. All right. Then vehicle costs. Yeah. I think for most families, if you're looking at buying a second-hand vehicle here for a family of 4, you can comfortably look between that $10,000 and $15,000 mark for your first car if you're buying cash here. So your car insurance kind of works on $50 per $5,000 in value. So we'll work on around $120 for that.
So I'm just going to add there, Evandy, you're 100% right. And you gave us that guidance as well when we were still back in South Africa to try and buy a car outright versus financing it when we got here. Now, I know everybody's financial situation is different. Okay. So some people will have to finance something when they get here. I get it. And you can even start the finance process and everything when you're still in country so that you get here and it's all sorted and when you can go sign it, you can do it. And I've got people that I can help. I get to help you with that I trust and whatever else. But we were blessed enough to be able to buy the car outright. So, and also what you also, and it's a big thing for us South Africans, and we've joked about it before, you have to change that mindset. And it was a biggie for me, not so much for Amy, is you can't buy those German cars and whatever else that we used to have back home in South Africa. You got to change your mindset and realize you're going to be buying the Japanese, the Korean, those sort of cars. So your Mazdas, your Toyotas, whatever, which are still really good. And you can get good deals and whatever else because they literally really just across the ditch here. So they're not far away. But you need to realize you can't I don't believe it's the right thing to buy those German cars straight off. Also remember parts and everything like that. It's tough, man. Germany's far away. It costs a lot. We're on an island in the middle of nowhere. So it costs a lot to keep those going. Over and above the expenses, maintaining them is high. Whereas maintaining something cheaper, a lot easier. And I know I'm not, here I am preaching. I'm just telling you lessons learned. It's what we've had to adjust with. And we bought a Mazda when we got here and I'm still got a Mazda. Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. It's a conversation I have with every single client. So because we loved our German cars back home, but they are frightfully expensive to maintain here. And that's if you can even find the parts in the country. So, but when we go through the assets and checking the surplus funds that you're bringing over, that's where we have that conversation to see, okay, you do have a bit, keep 15,000 of that surplus money aside to buy a car cashier. If you are unable, and unfortunately there are some people that are unable, then we also go through the conversation, okay, maybe try and keep it at that 10,000 mark and I'll work out what the repayments are going to be and we factor that into the budget. But, and then to also be able to check things like, is is there going to be a clawback if you're in a financial position to pay off their car quicker, that type of thing. But yeah, that's just kind of an additional part of the budgeting tool. Okay. All right. Then the personal insurance. So that's around your life cover, income protection, all that type of thing. We do check what they have back home. Typically, insurance here is 4 to 5 times cheaper in New Zealand than what we pay in South Africa in particular. So depending on the situation, I do try and I budget for around $200 a month in the beginning for the basics.
Yep.
Okay.
And when you say the basics,
and we will go
what insurance are you saying is the basic?
So generally life cover, and we try and get some income protection, even if it's just to cover the rent, because you're on one income, you're solely reliant on the one income initially, that if something happens to you, at least the rent is paid, because your rent is about 70% of your expense here. And we'll see that a bit later. And then later we can buff it out.
And I do know as part of the series that the next one is actually going to be, the next video is actually going to be around insurances and all the rest of it. So I know you'll get into more detail on that. I just wanted to try and get an understanding straight off the basics and why. So thanks for that, Evandy.
So contents insurance, if you are building up from scratch, I normally say to clients, once your home's completely up and filled and homely, then start looking at contents. There's not a lot of crime here, but there are natural disasters. And contents insurance is very, very cheap. So definitely cover the things that are valuable. We can factor in the beginning, say $50.
And that's no joke.
Not much in the beginning.
Perfect. And you're 100% right. So I do know that the crime is better. Okay, it does happen. You know, it still can happen, but it's nowhere like what we used to.
No.
But you are right about natural disasters. When we first got here, never mind our first rental getting flooded. So because there were floods and everything like that just before Cyclone Gabriella. And then there was Cyclone Gabriella. So it really does happen here. You need insurances for some things. It's just a little different. That's all.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. All right. Then the biggest expense, rent. So if we're looking at Auckland, family of 4, you're probably looking at a 3-bedroom initially to start. It is hugely area dependent, but I think a good average is around $850 a week for a 3-bedroom home. All right.
Yep. So that is true. And one of the things, I'll even put one of the links into this description of this video as well. There are sites that you can start looking on. Besides Trade Me, you can look at realestate.co.nz. So you can start getting a feel for the different areas and what the costs are. And you'll start seeing that the rental, you don't pay it monthly, you pay it weekly. So that's also something you need to get used to, is that you've got to pay those rental costs weekly. Also, another thing that caught us, well, not caught us, but something you have to be prepared for, is you have to pay a bond, which is like a deposit up front. So it's quite a lot that you have to pay just to get into your rental. Besides that, like you said, it's 70% of what your budget is to pay it monthly. You're now paying that weekly rental fee. You've also had to pay the deposit up front, which is usually 4 weeks worth of whatever your rental is. And sometimes you also have to pay a further 2 weeks on top of that. So sometimes you have to have 6 weeks available to pay up front, and then you pay it weekly thereafter, which is like, wow, it's a lot. It really is.
It's a lot. And we factor that into the startup costs with clients when we have that conversation before they come on shore, is the rental, mattresses, the basics that you're going to need to do when you first get here. But I work on 6 weeks of your weekly cost. That's a rule of thumb. All right. Then school fees.
Awesome.
So
you
school
added a
fees
nice one there, Vali. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, but
you pay
that is a
a
very cool
donation
one
to
for everybody to know. I say that is a very cool one for you to note. Sorry, I'm interrupting you again, but you've stated that you actually meet with all your clients up front, and you talk about those moving costs as well, which is so handy. Like you said, beds are very expensive here. So you talk through that and what the costs are. And obviously having extra money put aside for bonds and all the rest of it with your rental. So it's important for people to know that you also do that as well. So, which is really helpful, Evandy.
Yes. So the school fees, no school fees. It's a donation that you pay to the school once a year. The decile of the school does vary the donation, but I typically work on $500 a year per child. So that would only be applicable to your 10-year-old Brett. So we'll just factor that $500 in, and it doesn't include the extramural activities, but we'll just work on this for now. All right, then ECE, child creche. All right, so in Auckland, average cost of creche is $450 a week. That is up until the age of 3, and then 50% gets subsidized. So yours is a 3-year-old, thank goodness. So we can halve that. So $225 a week.
And you're 100% right. That is a huge expense. We were so lucky with Amy. Sorry, I was just saying we were so lucky with Amy is because she was at home and my daughter was 3 at the time. She had just turned 3 when we got here. We were able to get, of a 40-hour week, 20 hours subsidized by the state for her to go to kindy. And it actually gave Amy time because one, it was getting not only the time for Amy to go do stuff and get out there by herself, because now my son was at school and my daughter was at kindy. It also started getting my daughter to start building friends and integrating and everything like that. So it really did help, which was awesome. But you're right. It was only 20 hours that they paid for.
But there are families that are unfortunately in a situation where they can't even afford that 50% on one income, but it's okay. Like you said, the spouse would be home with the child, and we typically see the spouses take max 6 months to find a job. So they normally then go full time once the spouse starts working. So but that's the cost that you can work on. We'll leave it in for now just to play safe. Look, the gyms and that, I don't know too many people that get straight into it in the first few months because you're sitting up home, you're running around weekends collecting furniture. It's really the last thing on your mind is joining a gym when you're actually hauling furniture all around the city. So I typically leave it out for now. Okay.
But we'll see it as a luxury. If you really, really wanted to join the gym, I can tell you there are some cheaper gyms like Jet's gym that I go to. You can get it for like $12 a week or something like that. Obviously just for one gym, but it's good enough if you really, really have to.
You really have to. And depending on the insurance that we do for you, there's some insurance providers that have benefits with that type of thing as well. So always a conversation we can come back to. All right. So that is your very, very basic budget, basic cost of living. No bells and whistles to it. So we're just going to check what your surplus is. All right. So 7794, you're technically over. And I could tell you what that is. That's the ECE fees. All right. So in that case, we're going to go back and say, okay, while Amy's not working, we're going to have to park this for a little bit. But I'm just going to make a note of it.
But this is so perfect because this is giving you a real life example of showing how you're actually helping somebody up front to just give peace of mind and say, I can actually make this work. Rather than getting onshore, doing it for the first time and learning the hard way with real money being in the thick of it. I mean, you've got so much other stuff to worry about. So this is awesome. Thanks, Vivendi.
So it's just to know your basics are covered. Your basic way of living is covered. The rest will follow, and we're going to go into that now to show people. Okay, so we're just going to update that note that I did earlier. So 769 surplus. Okay. Is 769. And then I just make a note in here excluding ECE. Okay. All right. So now, hopefully Amy's got a job. And
okay, we can work on that. Her first job was $90,000 a year.
Which is really good for starting income.
We were lucky because we're both in IT, so it is a bit different, but it does depend on what industry you're in, etc. Okay,
so her net income monthly is 5,700. So we're just going to add that in.
Yep.
And everything I work out here, I do email a copy to the clients.
Cool.
Is 5,743 per month, which means your combined income will be 13,000.
Brilliant.
Okay. All right. So let's jump back and see what else we can spend.
Awesome.
All right. So here's where we can start looking at a bit of entertainment. I think most of my family's budgets around $50 to $100 a week, depending on your lifestyle, I guess. I think a family of 4, I think we could split it down the middle, say $75 a weekend.
I think that's fair. It's obviously not being extravagant or whatever else, but you're starting to do, which is perfect.
No. Oh, sorry, that's a weekend. So let me do that per month. So 325, let's say 300 a month.
Yep.
Alcohol. I'm sure you've deserved a couple of beers after mowing the lawn how many times? And
yeah, or you want to have a wine or whatever it is that
wine.
you have. Yeah.
Let's say 200 a month.
Yep.
Personal care and clothing. Most of my clients budget around that $150 a month. Yep. So there's going to be no change there. This will change because there's going to be extra travel costs with going to a second job.
Yep. So I think the personal care, I know you're adding in for the transport and everything, but the personal care, you're right, because even if, don't only think about yourself, it'll be your kids. So
kids as well.
You start spending stuff on them, clothes, whatever else, shoes. You'll be surprised, like my daughter being 3 in this scenario. I know when she was like 4 and went to kindy, her and her friend decided to play in the mud and whatever else because it rains a lot here, and she messed up her shoes and were brand new pair of shoes, and you're thinking, oh, I've just bought you those shoes, and you have to buy new. So it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So petrol will go up, and sorry, our household expenses still on you. On you to do that.
Yep.
All right. Vehicle. All right. So the personal insurances, this is where we just do a rejiggle.
Yeah.
So include the spouse and that type of thing. Start looking at trauma cover, for instance, which we know as dread disease back home. And disability and things like that. So I normally push this up to around $300 then for a couple, depending on your age and that as well.
Yep.
Then the other big debate we have here is private medical. Whether you want to, not want to, if it's a staff benefits at the company you work for or not. I must say, of late, there are more people that want it than not want it, just because of the wait times in the public system at the moment. So we could factor in.
I think you've nailed it there. That's a big thing. So, but I want to put people's minds at ease so that they really understand, especially as South Africans, when you talk public healthcare in South Africa, it's scary, okay? Yeah. If you had to go into a public hospital in South Africa, you're worried whether you'll even come out there alive. And I'm not even joking, okay? It's tough. Whereas here, it is different, guys. I promise you. I've personally had to use public healthcare here in hospitals. For those who don't know, or if you have listened to my previous podcasts and stuff, I have had cancer. So I came across here where I was still doing post follow-ups for my cancer treatment. And I had to do that through public sector. So I had to deal with an oncologist from public sector. I had to go through different scans in public sector hospitals. It works. It takes a long time, but it works. And then now that we've finally got to a position where we can have private medical, it speeds things up. And a lot of the time you even go to the same hospitals for the same things. You just, I don't know if they jump the queue or what, I don't know. But things just seem to speed up when you're using private. That's all.
Correct. Yeah. I think that the biggest factor here, though, besides not waiting so long with private care, is the non-pharmac element with medical aid here. So your non-pharmac is your newer, more advanced drugs, mainly cancer-driven in New Zealand because of the cancer stats here. That's the huge point of concern for a lot of people, is to have access to non-pharmac meds, which the state doesn't pay for. So that's a huge driver here. Okay, but that's we can go into more detail when we do the insurance section on that benefit. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Sorry. All right. So I'm going to leave the contents as is, your rent as is. Nothing would have changed there.
Yep. No.
And
Yep.
okay. And then let's start looking at the KiwiSaver, because I feel it's really important to start doing those 3% savings.
Yep.
And get used to that money coming off your income. But like I said, it is going up to 3.5 next year, but we'll work on the current rate now.
Yeah. And I think an important one that you're doing here in this scenario, guys, you got to remember, we're starting to get into the habit of that 3% coming off. Once you are a resident, then you get your KiwiSaver, and they do it via your company when you're getting paid. The money goes directly into the KiwiSaver again. Here in this scenario, if we're doing it as we're not a resident, we're still just on work visas, you wouldn't be able to do the 3% until you got your residency. So it's important just to note that, but it's good to get in the habit.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. And then we will add back the childcare, the ECE of 975, because Amy's
now you're both working. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. All right. So let's see what that does to your budget. All right. That leaves you with 3,774 per month surplus cash, including savings.
Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So it is doable. I think that's what people have got to realize. But what you've got to do is you've got to be smart. You've got to be a bit frugal. You've got to do a lot of planning, and you can make it work. Because remember, a lot of us are coming midlife, so we have to play catch up. You know, we spent all our life savings, everything else, trying to get here and get reset up. So it is playing catch up. So you need to be, I mean, the first thing you'll want to do is, oh, I've got extra money, you know, I want to buy that jet ski now, or I want to get that second car and buy this. You've got to be careful doing that, because you know you've got to start investing. You've got to start thinking longer term for retirement, which is so boring, but it's something you've got to do. And you know that you've got to plant roots and buy a house. You know, adulting is never fun. It's never easy, but it's something we've got to do. So this really does help.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if we factor in the KiwiSaver, if you're looking at the average house cost here of being $1 million, the minimum you're going to need for your deposit is $100,000. So we look at $100,000 saving over 3 years. That's $2,700 a month.
Yeah.
That's all you need to put aside.
Yeah, sure.
So things like when your daughter starts
doable,
school,
then.
there's almost $1,000. It's doable. Things like when your daughter starts school, that is almost $1,000 saving a month that you could be putting towards your house deposit.
Yeah.
It's already been coming off your budget for the last 3 years. So you might as well put that money aside, put it towards your house saving. For most people, most of the clients I have, their surplus is around close to that $4,000 a month mark. So you can easily take 2,700 out of that and put it aside towards your house deposit. You've got 3 years to get there. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And
awesome.
And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So I think what this has shown me nicely, Ivandi, is that, you know, I think it can be very daunting and very scary when you've got to first make that move. But I think with a lot of planning and working together with you, it can just, one, settle your nerves, make you realize that you can do this. And it's actually putting a plan in place. So you know that, you know, you can make this work. And what scares me more than anything else, or even upsets me quite a lot, Evandy, is you'll see on a lot of these different Facebook groups and everything like that, you've got these keyboard warriors that'll go say, oh, don't move to New Zealand. It's a terrible place. And, you know, the economy's shot and you can't make it work and everything's so expensive. I think this is what I'm also trying to show is, you know, as much as there's negative people out there, there is positive as well. And you really can make this work. Is it easy? No. Is it going to take a lot of grit and a lot of pushing and drive and whatever else? Of course. And some sacrifice too. But we can make it work. You really, really can. But you know, sometimes you just need a little bit of that help. And that's why I'm so grateful, Evandy, for you doing this so that we can help as many others, you know, just do better than us, you know, have a softer landing. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember it's your starting salary. You know, it's your starting point. There will be increases, there will be better opportunities. Most people move on to higher paying jobs eventually. I'm not saying all, but most. I don't know anyone that stays on the same income here for their lifetime. Exactly. So it's a start, and it's just to prepare you, because unfortunately, you know, it's not often, but I do see people coming in on really low incomes, and we're like, okay, this is the bare minimum you're going to need, but this is how much surplus money you're going to need just to carry you until your wife or your husband can start working. So it's just to prepare you so that when you're here, you've got that extra cash. We've done the numbers and you can breathe. You don't need to worry. You can't buy food for your kids or something like that. So,
yeah. And I think you've touched on an important one there. Over and above being prepared, number one, so important. But number two, especially when you're coming across with kids, it's so stressful. You've got this weight on your shoulders that you've got to look after your family, especially kids, and you don't have a support structure here. It's not like back home where I could go knock on the door with my mom or my sister or somebody else and say, hey, we need some help. You're generally alone. Sometimes some people are lucky they got other family here, but for a lot of us, we don't have that. So this helps us, give us peace of mind. So it's awesome. Thanks, Evandy. Okay. Vandy, so where to from here? I know this is what we've gone through today, which has already been hopefully helpful in starting to give people an idea of how much money you've got to have as that first job offer, what you can start adding on, and not just to survive, but start thriving now and working towards those savings and everything when you've got a second income, living, actually having a life and enjoying it more. So that's really starting to give us an idea. But now, what's next in the series? What is the next one we're going to be covering? I'm just trying to remember in your wheel, where are we going to next?
So next is the insurances. That's typically something that we do just after you've started work, once you've settled a little bit and things are in place. Then we start looking at the life cover, income protection, all that type of thing. So we can stop the expense from back home because it is frightfully expensive what we paid for insurance back in South Africa. And it's the part before we do your last will and testament, because the solicitor gets a copy of your life cover. We attach it to your will. So it's a step we do before that as well. So hugely important.
Brilliant. This is making sense now. Thanks, Evandy. Okay, so we got a good understanding now of our budgeting with this first salary and then the second salary coming on. Excited for the next one that we're going to be doing, which will be all around insurances and all the rest. So it's going to be cool. But thank you, Evandy. Really appreciate your time today. It's been awesome.
No worries.
So we must keep well and speak soon.
Speak soon. Thanks, Brett. Cheers.